This is going to cover both normal and chaos, given they're the exact same fight with a few numerical differences. First, you're going to want to know about two passive effects that Guardian Angel Slime has. The first being a passive health regeneration. Every 1 minute or every 30 seconds on chaos difficulty, Guardian Angel Slime will regenerate 1% of its maximum health. You'll also notice that as you damage Guardian Angel Slime, its health bar will have two different colors. The yellow portion of the health bar is going to represent its actual current health value, its real health. The dark green portion represents what Guardian Angel Slime could potentially regenerate with its passive health regeneration. The second passive Guardian Angel Slime has is a permanent damage resistance against the player that can be disabled later with a mechanic. This is a 30% damage reduction that the slime has against us for most of the fight. I should also mention that KMS recently got a patch that reduced this damage reduction from 30 to 15%. Now let's get into the core mechanic of Guardian Angel Slime, and the mechanic that also lets you disable his damage reduction. That mechanic being the slime gates. You'll notice that there are 4 gates on the corners of the map, and there are 4 different colors: blue, purple, green, and orange. And in the area you see currently, they will always be in the same place every time you enter this fight. So let's talk about what you do with them. First, notice that you have a special mechanic here up next to the timer. This represents a special ability you have on a short cooldown. This ability is used by using your interact/harvest key, which hopefully you bound to something relatively easy to press. Many people do Y, myself included. The special ability is used to interact with the magma slimes you see on the map. These magma slimes are going to spawn randomly across the entire map quite frequently throughout the entire fight. If it hits the player, it doesn't actually spawn, it's just going to do some damage to you and then disappear. If it doesn't hit you, it stays on the map like the ones you see here. But don't worry about trying to dodge them or anything like that. There's going to be plenty of these slimes around the map for you to work with. Now, what do you want to do with these slimes? You want to hit them with the special ability. When you press the interact key, a little menu is going to pop up which prompts you to press up or down. Whether you press up or down, the slime is going to be knocked diagonally in the opposite direction, in the direction that your character is currently facing. Once you press the interact key and the direction of your choosing, you're then free to move around without needing to stay by the magma slime because it's going to do its thing regardless. Your ultimate goal is to get 3 magma slimes blocking a single gate. Now, it doesn't matter which gate you pick. All that matters is that you remember it. I always pick blue because that way I always remember what color I'm going for. There's also many magma slime positions that are able to go right into the blue portal with a single move. When you press down on a slime and hit it upward, it can go through the platform above it and go in an arc into the portal of your choosing. Now, if you do hit it from above downward, it will stop on the first platform that it comes into contact with. Doing this can be useful because it can allow you to move a slime in 2 steps to the portal of your choosing, but that's really more of a desperate move in case you're really running short on time and there's just no slimes in good positioning. So now that I have the blue portal blocked, it's time for the Guardian Wave. When the timer reaches 27 minutes and 21 seconds, it's time to do the Guardian Wave. Why is it that time? I don't know. It's a little odd time and it might be off by a couple seconds. At this point, the boss despawns and the map opens up downwards, opening up a second area. So let's freeze it here for a moment. In this area, you're going to see the same 4 colored gates that are up above. The only difference is these are in a random position. You'll also see various platforms in this area that are in random positions every time this wave starts. When the wave starts, the map is going to pan down and show you the layout of the map. Now, don't be too concerned about memorizing this because that's not really important. What is important is knowing that while the screen is panning like this, you can actually still move your character and you can use your mini map to see where you're actually going. After the map is done panning, it's going to spawn the Guardian Wave. Now, the Guardian Wave goes down the map like a liquid. When it hits a platform, it goes either left or right. The direction it goes depends on which way the platform is the longest. Now, your interact key becomes a skill that places these little blue crystals down. What these crystals do is they block the Guardian Wave and make them go in the other direction. This allows you to guide it to exactly where you need them to go. In this case, this is a regular Guardian Wave. That means we want it to go into the exact portal that we blocked. In this case, blue. Once it enters the proper portal, you've succeeded. Now you need to get back up top before the 10 seconds is up, get into in front of the statue where the Guardian Slime is going to summon. When the boss comes back, it's going to be stunned in front of this statue here. And when that happens, it's going to be bound for 15 seconds and it's going to take extra damage from you while also losing its damage resistance. And if you want, you can also follow this up with your actual skill bind, just allowing you to have more time to finish your burst if your cooldowns last quite a while. There's not really any better time to bind in this boss fight. Now, when the bind ends, you do need to watch out for a message. It will pop up here at the top like this. This message tells you the next Guardian Wave is not going to be normal. There are 3 potential options, but in reality, there's basically only 2 because one of them is so rare. This message right here means that it's going to be a golden wave, and a golden wave means you want to get it into a portal that is not blocked. Which which means you don't actually need to block anything, but in case you missed the message, you can still block one gate and just make sure it doesn't go into that one gate. And be very careful because a golden wave can only be failed once, and if you don't get it in the one time, well, you miss out on the bind phase. So in the footage on screen here, this is a golden wave, and I did still have blue portal blocked, so I guided them into purple. Now the last wave that does have a potential to spawn is the pink wave. Now here's the thing, the pink wave is so extraordinarily rare and apparently can only spawn at low health percentages that I've never actually seen it before in probably over 100 Guardian Angel Slime kills. In the case that you do see a pink slime wave, it's literally the exact same as a normal Guardian wave, except it's faster and you only have one attempt, which I didn't say earlier, but the regular Guardian wave, you get 3 attempts to get them into the right portal. And I should also mention that if you do stay down bottom when they give you that 10 seconds, you're instantly teleported up top and killed. But 10 seconds is more than enough time to get up top and prepare your burst for the bind phase. And something about crystal placement you should know is that if you place it too close to the lip like this, the slime wave will instantly shatter it and just go in somewhere you didn't want it to. So in the case that you have a map like this that I'm showing you on screen here, make sure you place it as far to the right or left as possible, just so that they don't land on and instantly shatter the crystal like that. And whenever a Guardian wave finishes, it's 2.5 minutes cooldown until the next one. So when you factor in that time, combined with the time it actually takes to do the Guardian wave, 3-minute burst classes pretty much have their burst on schedule for this entire boss fight. So now that the Guardian wave and slime gate mechanic has been explained thoroughly, but what about the actual boss itself and its attacks? Well, the reason I mentioned them last is because quite frankly they are the least important part of this boss fight. And on the platform that's above Guardian Angel Slime, you're still able to attack it with almost every class in the game to my knowledge, and you can't get hit by its most dangerous attacks, thus rendering it basically a relatively harmless boss fight. Its most threatening attack is its slam. It jumps up and does a ground slam, and if you are on the ground on the same platform that it is on, you are instantly killed. But again, you dodge it just by standing on the platform that's above it or below it. Hell, or even jumping. Its next actual dangerous attack is these green lasers. They charge up after a few seconds, then they fire these big laser beams. If you get hit by them, it is going to bind you for a few seconds and do continuous damage for every laser beam that's on you. Should you find yourself in a position where you feel like you're definitely going to get hit by, you can always use Hero's Will to be immune to the bind. But it's still not recommended that you stand in the laser and take the damage because it can be very threatening, especially as more lasers spawn. More lasers will also spawn as Guardian Angel Slime's health gets lower, eventually 3 lasers at the same time. Now you may be surprised to hear that that's actually all the threatening attacks that Guardian Angel Slime has. Now the boss does have multiple attacks, they're just not particularly threatening, such as this laser beam attack. It can actually hit you while you're on the platform above the slime. You're just very unlikely to die to this attack without the help of chip damage as well. With a 5-second potion cooldown, it's just not a particularly deadly combination. Then we have its knockback attack. Now the damage from this isn't the threatening part. The threatening part is when it can knock you into laser beams and get you potentially bound and killed. But since this attack can only hit you while you're on the same platform as it and close to it, it's not really that big of an issue. I'm gonna go over some of the smaller attacks, the little chip damage things that aren't really that big of a deal, but you may as well know about them. But I do firmly believe that they're not important to the fight. It's just my belief that when you're trying to learn a new boss fight for the first time, if there are mechanics that you can straight up not even really learn about, that it lets your brain focus on the things that actually matter and you will learn the fight a little bit easier. But for the sake of being comprehensive, I will talk about them a little bit just so you know about them. First of all, you're going to see ads spawn around the map, various different kinds of slimes. All but one of them are just going to do damage to you in some way, shape, or form. But the pink one with a little rose in its mouth, that saucy little minx, it can seduce you. And it's just possible that it might seduce you into a laser beam. So the chances that it can get you killed is there, and it's definitely happened to me. But more often than not, even when you do walk into a laser beam and get bound by it, you're probably going to be okay. The magma slimes around the map, if you touch it, you'll constantly take damage for as long as you're standing on top of one. But trust me, you can ignore that and it does not matter. Once again, there's a 5-second potion cooldown, and that's pretty generous for a boss fight. You'll also see little green piles of slimy goo on the ground sometimes. And those, they just do a little bit of damage to you over time. I think it's 1% health per second or something like that, and they slow you down. You can see it right here to the right of me. You can also see these little slime explosions growing around the map. They blow up, deal 20% of your HP and damage, and slow you for a little bit. Once again, not threatening, and you can basically ignore them. The last mechanic that actually is important, but just not threatening, is its teleport. Every once in a while, after being being on a different platform for a long enough time, Guardian Angel Slime will teleport to your position. It's at this point that you need to switch the platform you're on and fight him from a different one. Now you can do this in kind of like a staircase method where you just go up and up and up and up and then go back down to the bottom and reset it, or you can try to keep Guardian Angel Slime on the same platform for the entire fight by dropping down to its platform just before when you feel like it's about to teleport, and then it will just stay on the same platform forever. Or alternatively, you can fight him on the opposite side of this gap constantly like this. The only problem with this method is laser beams are a little bit more annoying like this. They kind of force you out of your position. Or to use an iframe if you're fortunate enough to have a low enough cooldown one. And lastly, some tips for the boss fight. First of all, when you first spawn in, feel free to use any 3-minute bursts, as they will be back by the time you need to do the bind phase. And in the case that any wonky timing should have happened and you don't have your burst back, you can actually just extend the duration of the Guardian Wave by just bouncing it back and forth between one of the walls by blocking it with a crystal at the very beginning. For the most part, it shouldn't be necessary, but it's still nice to know. And that's more or less it. Once you understand the Guardian Wave mechanic and how to block the slime gates, this fight is really quite easy. So good luck with the fight. I hope you get a ring drop on normal. That's a lot. I've never seen one, but I hope you get one. So thank you to you for watching. Thank you to my patrons and my members for supporting me as always, and I'll see you in the next one.